Good morning and welcome to Changing the World with God and with Good. Well, for about 5 or 10 minutes or so, I get to share God with you, sharing with you universal kingdom truths, truths that are meant to apply to all of humanity, which is why I'm able to speak words and encouragement and kingdom principles to you without religious bias, ethnic bias, national bias, political bias, religious bias, or gender bias. And I do this because God's words and His truths transcend all of those human labels and speaks to the hearts of humanity. And for just a moment, I want to speak to your ear, your hearing, and your heart from the subject, how much time do you have? How much time do you have? And I pose this particular question because so often we, and I'm guilty as well, of talking about what I'm going to do or how I'll get around to doing certain things. I mean, living life as if I have an assurance on time, as if we have an assurance that we'll be in the earth for a set number of years. But how many of you know that, as the Bible tells us, no one knows the time nor the hour, not of the return of Jesus, but no one knows the time nor the hour when God will call us out of this earth. No one knows. There are many people that leave home every day fully expecting to return home that never makes it home. There are babies that are born in the hospital fully expecting to come home that never leave the hospitals. There are people all over this earth that have made plans to live long, healthy, prosperous, and joyous lives, that lives were cut short. So I'm here to help you see that we don't have a monopoly of time. We don't have the assurance that that we provide to ourselves in our false senses of security, that we have the time to get around to things, that we have the time to do things that can be done today that we put off for weeks, for months, for years. How much time do you have? Do you know? Do you know? Yet, as I say, so many of us, we live our lives as if we know that we've got an abundance of time in this earth. I mean, we make statements and live life like there is a assurance that we'll have time to find love, to cherish love, to nurture love, and to grow love. This is why so many of us put demands on falling in love, put demands on marriage, put demands on finding that person that God has created just for you. We'll say, not until we get our finances together, not until you meet certain criteria, not until we put so many demands on the fact that there may be a love that's out there and that is longing to unite with us, not because we desire, but because God has mandated, God has created it for you. Yet we live as if we've got an assurance of time, as if we've got a year to wait, as if we've got 5 years to wait, as if we've got 10 years to wait. But the Bible reminds us that no one knows the time nor the hour when we'll have to stand before God at our day of judgment after He's called us out of the earth. We live like we've got an abundance of time to start that business, to move into that industry, to move into that career path. I'll get around to it. I'll do it. I'll do it, as if there's an assurance of time. Well, time will continue ticking. It just doesn't mean that it'll continue to tick for us in this earth. Yes, we will continue to exist. because we were spiritual beings before we occupied and began to inhabit this flesh. So we'll continue to dwell, whether in heaven or hell, but our time in this earth is limited, beloved. And I'm here to tell you that it's time out for us living as if we've got an assurance that we will live to see old age. It's time out to continue putting off for tomorrow things that we can do today. You see, so many of us, think that it's about what God is going to do or what God has done for us. But beloved, I'm here to tell you that if you're going to walk into what God has created you to walk into, if you're going to be what God has created you to be, then it's about what you will do. And you don't have an assurance of time to continue talking about you're going to get around to it or you'll get to it one day, because, beloved, I'm here to tell you that your one day may not ever get here. But while it is still day, you can do the things that God has created you to do. So many of us live like we've got an assurance of time, which is why we put off doing charity work. I'll get around to it. I'll do it Thanksgiving time. I feel I'll just wait till Christmas. I'll wait till Easter. As if we've got an assurance that we're going to see Thanksgiving, as if we've got an assurance that we're going to see Christmas, as if we've got an assurance that we're going to see Easter. I mean, we put off all sorts of things like seeing the world. Oh, well, I'll get around to it. Someday. Well, again, beloved, there are many people that left home this day thinking that someday I'll buy that car. Someday we'll get that house. Someday I'll go see my kids. Someday. And that someday will never come for them in this earth. We live with this false sense of assurance that, we've got an abundance of time, which is why we'll put off getting an education. I'll go back. I'll get around to going back. Yet there are babies dying from heart attacks at 15. I just heard of a young man that was in my city, Atlanta, that I think was 14, 15 years old. Died of a heart attack. 15. Certainly, you've got to believe that he had made all sorts of plans. His parents had made all sorts of plans for his future. I'll get around to it. Yeah, I'm going to. That'll never come. How much time do you have? Are you sure? Do you know for sure? For certain? Or do you just play with time as if you have an assurance that you've been promised an abundance of it? I mean, we put off doing and being what God has created us to be, saying to ourselves, I'll get around to it. God understands. He knows. He's going to preserve me till I can get around to it. Yet there are so many people that songs were still playing when they died. They never got around to doing what God had created them to do. And I'm here to tell you, beloved, that unless you begin doing it now, you do not have an assurance that time in this earth will wait on you. How much time do you have? I don't know how much I have. And yes, I can say I've squandered a lot of time. I've squandered a lot of opportunities. I've made the statement so many times I can't remember. Yeah, I'm going to get around to it. I'm going to do that. And month went by, year went by. In some cases, decades have gone by. But because God's grace is God's grace, and because we get to look back on the statements that we made 5 years ago about I'm going to do something, and we're still in the earth, many of us take that thing for granted as if we've got an assurance of time. But the Bible reminds us that no one knows the time nor the hour when God will call us out of this earth. This is why it's imperative that we begin giving God our hearts. This is why, because no one knows. You don't know. I don't know Jesus didn't even know when he was going to be called out of the earth. God began to give him signs. But he said, no one, I don't know. And neither do you, neither do I. Which is why now is the time we must begin to love hard. Love like it's our last opportunity to love. Even at the risk of disappointment, even at the risk of being hurt, even at the risk of loss. Because I've got to believe that it's better to have said, you know what, I loved hard. I know what it's like than to have stood on the sideline all your life, never knowing what true love was like. See, you've got to be willing to risk something to be able to have something. And you don't have an assurance that you can wait 5, 10, 15, 20 years. If you've got an opportunity to love now, you best to make it your business to love hard and to love those that you love like it's your last opportunity to love them. So you don't have an assurance of time, which is why you must begin walking courageously into that career, into that business that you've been talking about starting for a year now, for 5 years now, for 10 years now. You don't have an assurance that you've got another 5 or 10 years to wait to start that business. You need to start right now, right where you are. Don't mean that you'll be successful tomorrow. It means that, yes, you may even have to deal with some rejection and some growing pains. But again, don't be deceived into thinking that you got an abundance of time to do what it is that you can do this day. Yes, go ahead, beloved. Go ahead and start serving somebody other than yourself, other than your family, and other than your friends. Get out there and give to the world. It's better to give than to receive, is what the Bible teaches us. As you give it, God will give it back to you. So stop thinking that you got this abundance of time to begin to do charity work. Begin now. How much time do you have? Do you know? If you know, email me or text me or write on the Facebook page and let me know just how much time you can say definitively you have in this earth, because I don't know. I'm just grateful that God sees fit to allow me each and every second in this earth. Not that it's been promised to me, but that his grace sustains me, that his love keeps me in spite of myself. Yes, but I don't know. Neither do you. Yes, go ahead and start that business, beloved. Start it. Start it now. Begin doing it now. Stop telling yourself in a year, in 5 years, when the money get right, when the climate change, when all the stars in the sky line themselves up so that I can see them. No. That may not ever happen. But that doesn't mean that you can't begin to do what you have and God has created you to do. Go ahead, beloved, and give God your heart this day, this moment, so that we can truly begin changing the world for God and for good. Because again, no one knows the time nor the hour when God will call our number and say, beloved, your time in this earth is over. But you can do something today. You can do something today. And I just encourage you to do today what you can do today. Because no one knows the time nor the hour when God will call us out of this earth. I love you. I thank you for tuning in. And until next time, goodbye.